It's time to take a stand and stop the sexualization of our children. Action for Canada has created a notice of liability to assist you. The title of this NOL is Facilitating an Exposure of Minors to Sexually Explicit Educational Resources, Activities, and/or Events. The United Nations has mandated that all member nations implement the Comprehensive Sexuality Education Resource. CSE is a learning platform that was developed within the context of a program developed by UNESCO. This so-called resource sexualizes children at the earliest ages possible, and it's no surprise that it's causing great harm to our children, as well as attacking the traditional family unit. According to Section 163.1 and Section 152 of the Criminal Code, as well as the Canadian Centre for Child Protection, it's a criminal offence to sexualize and exploit children. Here at Action for Canada, we've been working to expose this evil agenda and to empower parents, grandparents, and concerned citizens to take a courageous stand. In an effort to assist you, we've created a page on our website where you will find an incredible assortment of information on this issue, including the various programs that have been introduced into our schools. Beyond the Basics is the resource used in Nova Scotia, WIN Sex Ed is used in Ontario, CSE is used in Manitoba, and SOGI 123 is used by the rest of the provinces. By introducing these programs into our educational system, our children and youth are being exposed to sexually explicit pornographic materials in the form of books, magazines, and comic strips. Our kids are also encouraged to become members of organizations that promote sexually deviant behavior and the exploitation of minors. Be sure to take advantage of this notice of liability, which will advise teachers, librarians, trustees, ministers, etc., that they will be held personally liable for exposing minors to any form of pornography or sexually explicit material, as well as any activities or organizations promoting sexual deviancy and the exploitation of minors. By using this valuable NOL, you have the ability to demand that the CSE learning resources be immediately and completely removed from libraries and the education system. That all of the books listed, including titles by the same authors, be immediately removed, and that all educational facilities, including libraries, cease and desist promotion of any and all activities, including performers and clubs that exploit our innocent, impressionable, and vulnerable children and youth. Knowing is not enough. You must take action. Here are some powerful actions you can take to protect our youth, no matter your age or station in life. Pull your children out of public schools and universities. Run, facilitate, join, or help with a homeschool group. Get involved in writing letters and serving notices of liability. Run for office as a school board trustee, mayor, or city councillor. Connect with an Action for Canada chapter near you. We cannot ignore this message. Our children and youth are being subjected to twisted ideologies using social justice as a means to indoctrinate and groom them, and we must protect them. Thank you for taking a stand to protect kids. If you like what we're doing at Action for Canada, please consider making a donation to support our ongoing work. And be sure to join a chapter near you. God bless you, and God bless Canada.
Action for Canada, we unite. 'Cause joining hands will fall the fight. Action for the Canada, we stand tall. With love and faith, we can win it all. We are up high.
Hello, it's so good to be with you, friends, and welcome as you join us for another informative show. Our guest speaker this evening is Maxime Bernier, leader of the People's Party of Canada, and the title of tonight's show is CPC Convention Fuels the Populist Vote. It's February 11th, 2026, and this is the Empower Hour. Action for Canada is a national movement reaching out to millions of Canadians and uniting our voices in opposition to the destructive policies tearing at the fabric of our nation. Through call to action campaigns, we educate, equip, mobilize, and empower citizens to take action. We are committed to protecting faith, family, and freedom. If you're concerned about the direction Canada is taking and the future of the next generation, we'd like to invite you to the Truth Matters event taking place on Friday, February 20th, 2026. Join Tanya and featured guest Dallas Brody for an evening of practical strategies for community action, shared successes, Action for Canada resources, and chapter leadership and volunteer opportunities. Be sure to head over to our website for more information. If this is your first time joining us, Tanya Gaw is the founder and leader of Action for Canada. Tanya and the Action for Canada team are committed to bringing public awareness to the many serious issues facing our nation, including tonight's topic, which will be touching on issues that resonate with Canadians who find their voices are not being heard in the political arena. But before I head over to Tanya, we just want to encourage you to continue writing and calling in objection to Bill C9. We understand that any statements on Bill C9 have been postponed because of the shootings in Tumbler Ridge. And on that note, we also want to extend our love and prayers to all those who have been affected by this terrible tragedy. And now I'd like to welcome Tanya to the show. Hello, Tanya.
Hi, Heather. Thank you so much for all of that. Yeah, to our viewers, it's going to be an amazing show tonight. We're going to be touching on some very important issues that are critical to Canadians. And the tragedy that Heather had just mentioned in Tumbler Ridge, the bottom line is the agenda to indoctrinate our children with these ideologies that are causing them serious, measurable harm. And so we're going to be talking to Maxime about that. We're going to be talking about Bill C4 that had passed many years ago. I am going to share a few links in advance. And Bill C4 was supposed to shield gender affirming care, but while criminalizing parents and counselors who question or challenge a child's belief that they were born in the wrong body. So much so that a parent or counselor could go to jail for 5 years. And so they're being manipulated. Once they indoctrinate them in the schools, they're coming home and saying, hey, I'm born in the wrong body, which is absolutely impossible. There is no such thing as a trans child. This is an evil, wicked, demonic agenda to confuse our children and to break down the natural family. And the bottom line is it's evil. No child is ever born in the wrong body. And once they've got them good and confused, now they've passed Bill C4, that was a number of years ago, to say that they, nobody can talk to them about the reason they're feeling this way. And of course, it's a mass social contagion brought on by government leaders. And I would adamantly say that people like so-called premier, our premier of BC, I'm just going to refer to him as David Eby, that he's responsible. We have lobbied and lobbied the BC government, teachers, the activists, counselors that are involved in supporting this and supporting the confusion of our children. And there's coming a day of accountability. And Action for Canada has served notices of liability. We're updating the notice of liability. I'll be highlighting that page because there was this huge win in the United States where $2 million was a detransitioner was awarded $2 million when she sued her psychologist and the butcher doctor that mutilated her body. And this is like a huge, massive shot across the bow to the doctors and activists behind this. It has got to stop. SOGI 123 has to be ripped right out of the school systems. And for any premier that continues to support this attack against our children, well, you know what? They're just going to bury themselves deeper as we document every single one of them that have been served and have provided them the information showing that this is causing measurable harm to our children. And so I'm just going to share my screen because nothing could emphasize that more than the tragedy that has taken place in Tumbler Ridge. And if you are not aware of this, then you will find that this is it's going to be just so disturbing. They have officially announced that it was 9 9 people that are children, 1 teacher, 4 children, the shooter and killed his mother and I think his brother and sister, and 9 people in total and 27 in all that have been injured. This little girl was taken to the Vancouver General Hospital. She had to repair a gunshot wound to the head. She made it through the night. Little Maya, 12 years old. This is as a result of the BC government and the federal government indoctrinating our children, confusing them and putting them on these harmful hormone blockers and other drugs, synthetic hormones, and then giving them, providing them on our tax dollars, irreversible surgeries that are mutilating their bodies forever. And so the violence that is coming from this so-called trans community, from this, that they've brought this mental illness upon our children, and it is causing this kind of harm. And so this young man, we'll get to a picture. This was one of the young women. I just, my heart grieves. It grieves so deeply for the families. This beautiful 12-year-old girl, she didn't make it. She was one of the ones that has passed away. And this community is going to need a lot of love and support, but they also need justice. And so we need to be talking about that and what that looks like. And I have posted, if you go to my X page, I have posted David Evy's phone number and his email, and he needs to be inundated with emails telling him, demanding that he remove SOGI 123 from the education system. And I would hope that all of you will be taking that upon yourself to contact your education minister and the premier in your province, because it's Win Sex Ed in Ontario, and it goes by different names, Back to Basics in Nova Scotia, but it is all the same thing. The United Nations Comprehensive Sexuality Education that's meant to sexualize and confuse children at the earliest age possible, opening the door to break down their natural instincts towards pedophiles. But the outcome from the drugs is a violent nature. And this is the young man that was terribly confused. He'd had guns. The RCMP, this was a video, I won't play it, but it is going through one trans person after another, talking about how they're going to use violence against anybody that doesn't support them. It's very, very lethal and dangerous. This is Deputy Commissioner Dwayne McDonald. He's at a press conference. He's confirmed that 9 are dead and 27 others were injured. He goes on to say that this individual, that there was multiple times that they showed up at this young man's house for mental health and firearm related concerns. I mean, we're going back, I think it was last spring, it says, yeah, and was connected to issues of firearms. Why weren't they want to take away law-abiding citizens' guns, and this young man's guns weren't cleared out of his home when he was known to be a risk? And now are they going to turn around and blame this and promote their gun confiscation, taking away guns? You have to get in there and you have to oppose it. You have to be calling your MPs as well. This is what we mean about mobilizing and activating Canadians. You have to make your voice known right now. This is a tragedy that cannot be repeated again in Canada. And those who are responsible, and the underlying reason for this is the SOGI 123. It has to be removed. And they should put a ban on social media for any transgender, so-called transgenderism or propaganda going on. TikTok is a really bad one. Keep your kids off social media, because that's also where they're being lured into this mental illness from others. So we got to protect our kids. I just want to point out that Action for Canada, this is from 2020. We have been fighting against the conversion therapy ban. We were on the front lines of writing to the Conservative base, to every single MP, telling them not to vote in favor of this because of the risks and harms. We knew it was a lie. It was going to shut down and victimize our children from getting to the root of who it was that it was exploiting and abusing our children. And that's the government, provincially, federally, within our school systems, education ministers, all of the activists that have been behind this. And then this is the day of the vote in the House. And I'm going to go from this into highlighting the PPC and their position, and Maxime has doubled down on the PPC's position. But this is a Conservative MP proudly making this announcement.
Mr. Speaker, I'm asking for unanimous consent to adopt the following motion, that notwithstanding any standing order or usual practices of the House, Bill C4, an act to amend the Criminal Code, conversion therapy, be deemed to have been read a second time and referred to a committee of the whole, deemed considered in committee of the whole, deemed reported without amendment, deemed concurred in at the report stage, and deemed read a third time and passed.
This being a hybrid sitting of the House, for the sake of clarity, I will only ask those who are opposed to the request to express their disagreement. Accordingly, all those opposed to the honourable member moving the motion will please say nay. Agreed. The House has heard the terms of the motion. All those opposed to the motion will please say nay. There being no dissenting voice, I declare the motion carried.
Now I'm going to carry on for just a moment. I want you to watch one MP, Michelle Rempel, the blonde that's in the front. She is a full-on activist within the Conservative Party. And I want you to see what's taking place. And all of them, Conservatives and Liberals, you don't know who's on what side of the aisle at this point. They're all wearing the mask like a bunch of sheep going along with the COVID propaganda. None of them spoke up during that era as well. But on this issue, on behalf of our kids, we lobbied the government. We told them that they were harming our children. And yet all of the Conservatives unanimously voted in favor of this as well. And so just watch Michelle Rempel's conduct, that activist, this liberal feminist so-called activist that's part of the party, right here.
Third reading of the bill. Program lecture, Mr. President.
Yeah, she's very happy. She's very happy. All of those individuals that were walking up and that she was hugging are liberals. Whose side of the aisle is she on? And Michelle Rempel is a Conservative MP in Alberta. Alberta, what are you doing? All right, we may have an election right around the corner. What are you going to do about this? I mean, you keep voting her in. This is what you voted in. This is what you asked for. And they continue at the last convention that they just had 2 weeks ago. The CPC voted down addressing Bill C4. And here, and just to get an idea of how long this has been going on in the Conservative Party and why we are in need of change, the Liberals thank Conservatives who championed conversion therapy ban as it passes House. There is Michelle Rempel's name as one of the mainstream champions. This is when she lobbied to have the Conservative Party allow permit same-sex marriage as part of the party policy, I believe. I want to say that was back in 2016. I can't quite remember. And this video as well, just listen for about 5 seconds. This is her response to this.
That's what attracted me to this party. And today, I've never been more proud of our party. I just have to give the credit to all the activists who have worked so hard on this proposal. And
do you hear that? I have to thank all of the activists. Is that what you want? Brad Trost is an awesome man. He was there. He said that we need to support the natural family and traditional marriage. And I wish I could let it go on. That's a true Conservative. Brad is no longer in the Conservative Party, but this is what you are electing by continuing to elect the Conservative Party. Michelle was on the front line voting in Bill C-16, the bathroom bill, to include gender expression. She actually becomes all teary in this clip. Somebody did a good job of documenting that. She is, as she says, as both an ally and legislator, I am incredibly proud of the work I've done to advance the rights of the LGBTQ plus community in both Canada and abroad. This is the core of the Conservative Party. There is no reforming the Conservative Party. I felt so bad for this gentleman. I hadn't heard of him before, Jeff Avely. Before the vote on conversion therapy, he had reached out numerous times to Pierre Poilievre's office to tell them that while he was away in Iraq fighting, the activists were coming after his daughter. And I think it was 6 months ago or something. I'm not sure when this was recorded. Oh, December 6th. So he kept her safe while she was at home, but she has gone for the surgery and had her breast removed. But in spite of his story showing the tangible, measurable harms, Pierre Poilievre, the head of the Conservative Party, supported this, and he continues to support this. We're fighting like crazy. We're going to be coming after every premier and every education minister. We're updating that notice of liability to include that report of the legal action that was just won on behalf of the detransitioner to say you are not above liability. I don't care what level. It's not going to be a doctor. It's not going to be a psychologist. We're coming for you. If you're on the school board and you are going down this aisle of leading our kids into this ideology that's harming them, measurably harming them, then we are going to be coming after you. So look up the People's Party of Canada. I'm now going to have Heather introduce Maxime, because immediately after the convention, Maxime was on the front line of reaffirming their position on Bill C4 and explaining that. So Heather, with that, I'll stop sharing screen now. If you would please bring Maxime.
Thank you, Tanya. Joining us this evening is Maxime Bernier, leader of the People's Party of Canada. Maxime founded the PPC in 2018 when he realized the Conservative Party was no longer conservative. And now he's a leading political figure who is fighting against the corruption of the political elite as they undermine our democracy and our society. He's a passionate advocate for the Canadian people, and he boldly speaks out about topics that affect us all, even as opposing politicians attempt to appease voters with empty promises. Will you all please help me welcome Maxime Bernier? Hello, Maxime. We're so glad to have you back on the Empower Hour.
Hey, hello. Thank you very much for having me. I'm very happy and very pleased to be with you tonight.
So thank you, Heather, for that. Maxime, thank you. Welcome to the show. I'm sorry I took a little longer tonight because I thought it was a lot of very important information for our viewers to really understand and see how long the Conservative Party has leaned to the left. Kind of, we used to call them liberal light, and now we're calling them the uniparty. I want them to appreciate what it is, the work that you've been doing, and that you have been uncompromising in going across Canada and warning people of the harms, and that you've taken this seriously as a party to make sure that policies are in place to protect our children and to protect parental rights.
Thank you, Tanya. And you're right. You know, I was a conservative. As you know, I was a minister with Harper. And in 2018, I decided to just end my relationship with the Conservative Party of Canada. And I said at that time in 2018 that the Conservative Party of Canada is morally and intellectually corrupt because they are not promoting real conservative ideas. And what they're doing, they're speaking like the Liberals, and they're giving credibility to the leftist narrative. And that's why we created the People's Party of Canada. And just to add, Tanya, what you said in the beginning, you know, I was the first one to speak against SOGI 123. Actually, I must admit that I didn't know anything about that. But in our first election in 2019, we had a great candidate in Vancouver, Laura Lynn Thompson, and she was doing the fight with you, with a lot of people in BC. And they educate me at that time. I didn't know anything about that. And I was proud to have Laura Lynn with us and doing the fight. And since that time, we started the fight against that radical, toxic gender ideology. And what you showed to your viewers today, that clip about the C4, when they were so proud to passed that bill, that was 5 years ago. That was in 2021. And since that time, they had the opportunity to do the right thing, to correct that. But no, as you said also at their convention that they had a couple of weekends ago, they had an opportunity to pass a resolution to protect children and end that mutilation of children here in our country, but they voted against that. And now we had that tragic shooting that happened 2 days ago, and I'm very upset about our media, the traditional mainstream media, and the police also. They were saying that it was a woman and they didn't want to tell the truth to Canadians, that a trans a guy, that's a man. And that man was taking also drugs. And that transgender ideology, telling our kids that they can transition, that does not exist. A boy is a boy, a girl is a girl. There's no transition. And so now, because I believe that, because of that, the push of that radical ideology in our society, we have things that happen like that. Instead of taking care of our kids, we are giving it drugs and we mutilate their body. And as you said in the beginning, that's the position of the People's Party of Canada, to fight against that and to be sure that it would be criminal for a doctor or a nurse or anybody to mutilate the body of a kid. And all that Bill C-4, we must repeal that. We must promote there's only two sexes, and promote our Canadian family and Christian family values. That's what we want to do. But it's sad what happened 2 days ago. And I believe that these people who are pushing that ideology, they may have a little responsibility.
Oh, yeah, and I want to say a whole lot of responsibility. I stand very firmly on that, because even this young man, the shooter, was a victim of this psychological warfare against our children. These ideas would have never been planted, would never have been permitted to be planted in children's heads. And I found out about it in early 2017 about the SOGI 123, which they were really stealthy under the radar, bringing into some pilot project schools, about a dozen of them in British Columbia. And then as people were just finding out about it, all of a sudden in September of 2017, they launched it in all schools, but not before writing up legislation that said that SOGI 123 was a resource. In other words, it wasn't school curriculum, and that the school trustees were responsible for resources. And so this is where I say the trustees are also liable, because instead of having a backbone and saying, okay, we've been served the notice of liability, we understand personal liability could be coming our way, they have felt emboldened, they felt protected for some reason. And so the government, I believe, did that to take liability off themselves and say, oh, no, it's the school boards that are responsible if they didn't feel right about this resource. But then again, we see what they've done to Barry Neufeld, and that didn't even work for him, because he raised the red flag, saying that this was indoctrinating children, that this was abusive towards them. So I really, really appreciate that every time that you've become aware of something that wasn't on your radar, you dug into it, you listened, to the people that were approaching you and educating you on these matters, and then you swiftly move forward with them to write policy. And then just to say also with Bill C-16, in case people are listening, that mention what your policy is on Bill C-16, what steps you're willing to take there as well.
Oh no, all these bill C-16, C-9, C-4, it's bills that are against, our the morality of our country, the foundation of our country, our Christian heritage, and they try to silence everybody who don't follow the narrative. And so that's why for us, when we are writing a new policy, it's always in line with our 4 key principles: individual freedom, because we believe in people. We don't believe in a big fat government that will give you and tell you what to do or not to do. So individual individual freedom, personal responsibility, because we believe that people must be responsible of their own actions, the good ones and the bad ones. And so respect and fairness. And all these bills, they're doing the opposite. They want to silence us. They want to push an ideology that it's not our ideology as Canadians. And you have these woke establishment politicians who are always there to tell us that what we must do or not, like they did during the COVID-19. And that was another scandal, a national scandal, pushing, a so-called vaccine that was not safe and effective. And now, we know we were right at that time, we, the People's Party and you, Action for Canada, saying that, don't take that vaccine, use, ask for more information, but they were pushing that. And so that's why today, with that vaccine, we know that there's a lot of Canadians who die because of that vaccine.
Yeah, and we can even refer to it as a bioweapon. And in the United States, there, as the HHS and Robert Kennedy is moving forward, we're hearing the term bioweapon. We're hearing about potential charges. I don't know if everybody heard the move the Canadian government has taken to try to prohibit the public seeing the vaccine, so-called vaccine, the bioweapon harms until 15 years from now. And that's a sign of guilt to me. What are they covering? And we already know what that will be. It was quite sad. I was flying back from one of the provinces yesterday, and I was sitting next to a lovely elderly couple. I always love talking to people. And he had needed to move. They had a big farm in a nursery, and they had to give that up and move into a condo because unfortunately he took both the jabs. And then when he took the third booster, all of a sudden his legs stopped working and functioning, and he's finally almost recovered, but they've lost so much and had to give up so much, in order to deal with that. And there's massive harm, Maxime, on so many fronts. Hey, go ahead.
Yeah, just about that, just to the vaccine. Yesterday, no, sorry, Monday night, I was in Ottawa, and I had the opportunity to see a documentary about a young Canadian, Sean, who died after taking that shot 2 days after that. And that's a very powerful documentary. It will be public in a couple of weeks. And that being said, the most important is his dad is fighting against big pharma, against Pfizer. And that's important because what you said about in the US, they cannot sue the big pharma. There's a legislation. So they're looking at that case here in Canada, and that will be a huge precedent. And I hope that, the father will win, and that will be another demonstration that what they did to us was, yes, they wanted to be sure that the population will listen to that and taking that shot that was damaging for a lot of people. And yes, weapons, that was the case.
Yeah, I believe crimes against humanity, is very appropriate to call it that. Is that the father of the son of the hockey
Yes,
player?
yes.
Yes, yeah. I saw something come up yesterday, and I saw a post of his, and once again I thought, thank God that he's fighting, he's seeking justice, and my heart just goes out to him and so many people. I remember the first months, and so many people knew that Action for Canada was offering assistance and notices and fighting back and trying to educate people and warn them. And I'm sure that we saved many lives and people's to sustain their health. But at the same time, many lives have been lost, and there's many injuries where that is ongoing. But the government had a very nefarious plan, and I believe accountability is coming. So, Maxime, part of this was that I had announced that the CPC convention has fueled the populist vote. And if our viewers aren't aware, I am just so excited. I mean, Poland and Hungary have been denying the EU and the WHO and the United Nations and WEF for quite a while, but now it's Italy, Brazil, Chile, Japan, El Salvador, just recently Costa Rica. Who have I missed? USA, Argentina. Yeah. I mean, the list is growing. And so before we go on to address immigration, because I'm going to have a couple of clips to play, I really want to address this. When I had first posted some of your that clip, or the invite for you, and said fueling the populist vote, there was the little peanut gallery that do their little comments, and but the majority of it has shifted so much towards the support for you. And people after the convention, I saw so many people saying, that's it, I'm cutting up my conservative card and I'm sending it in. And I'm like, I want to challenge the conservatives. Are you serious about that? Because I went through that 8 years ago, or whenever I cut up my conservative card, because I really, really tried to work with the Conservative Party. I really engaged them. I tried to warn them. And when I realized that they were just ignoring absolutely all of our concerns, moving forward with liberalizing the Conservative Party, and people have always been afraid of, I'm going to vote out the Liberals and vote in the Conservatives. And I want to challenge our viewers. How do you think all of the countries I just named ended up electing all of these amazing champions, these leaders that are tearing down all of the diabolical global agendas? It's because they rose up as a nation, they organized, they coordinated, and they helped the officials that they wanted elected to come forward and help them, to fund them and get them across to the finish line. So Maxime, let's talk about that. We've done it before on the show. Talk about to people about dividing the vote. It's time for change. Go for it.
Yes, Tanya, it's always the same argument. The conservative don't want to debate us. They don't want, because they know that they won't win the argument. And so what they're trying to do is to discredit the People's Party, our candidates, myself, and actually, telling people that if you vote for the People's Party, you're voting for the Liberals, you're splitting the vote. That's absolutely, false, and they try to scare people about that. But my answer to that is, the conservative are not conservative. And when you split something, if you split an apple, you'll have two pieces of an apple. But if you look at the Conservative Party of Canada electoral platform, and you look at our platform, it's very different. So what I'm telling the conservative voters, vote for what you believe. You'll have more chances to have what you want. And we at the People's Party, as you know, we don't look at polling or focus group. We are doing politics by conviction. And we believe that the more we speak about our ideas and our conviction, the more support we will have. And we don't want to do any compromise with our conviction, because we believe and that we have the best vision for this country based on our constitution, based on our Christian values. And we believe that the people must come if they take time to read our platform. I'm pretty sure that we'll have more support. But the Conservative Party of Canada is afraid of us because we are always telling them, what you're doing is not the right thing. Like at the last convention, they had an opportunity to just tell Canadians, we voted for Bill C-4, that was a mistake, and vote for that resolution, but they didn't do that. But what I'm looking, it's a little bit more difficult for us, yes, to have a candidate elected because of that electoral system, one past the post. But like you said, all these countries, European countries, other countries, Japan, that are, embracing the populist movement, that's for me, I'm looking at that and I'm saying, that wave will come to our country sooner than later, for sure. Just in UK, Nigel Farage, and in France with Madame Marine Le Pen, they're speaking about immigration. And I want to say to people about immigration, it's not being racist to say, just we need to have a pause on immigration. We need to have a moratorium on immigration. That's what they're asking in France, in Germany, in UK, all these populist political movement. And when you do that, after that, you need to deport the illegals that are here in our country. That's part of our legislation. I'm not telling and saying to the federal government, oh, you need to pass a legislation to be able to deport the illegals that are here in our country. They don't need to do that. The legislation is there. They just need to apply the legislation and to respect the legislation and do the deportation. And I understand that more people also are fed up that we have people here in Canada who don't share our values and they're Canadian citizens. What can we do about that? But in Europe, they're speaking about remigration. What is remigration? Remigration, it's a government that will vote incentives to give to their citizens to be sure that they will, if they want, they will leave the country and go back in their country of origins because, they don't assimilate in our country. And I believe that must be the third part of our platform. Re-immigration programs, yes, that will cost money to give the right incentive for them to leave our country if they don't share our values and if they don't want to be part of our society.
Well, and Maxime, yeah, you're hitting it right on there. So I think what I'll do is I will share my screen again. I'm going to show these couple of clips and then we'll carry on this critically important conversation because there are very easy steps Canada can take to make these people, I want to say, even feel unwelcome, where they'll just need to, they're going to want to go back to their country because the word accommodation is poison. And it is lethal to Canadian democracy. We should not be accommodating foreigners. If they want to immigrate to Canada, they need to integrate into and assimilate into our society, to embrace our values. And this isn't about race, whether the government was, I was like, go ahead, fill your boots, call it racism if you want, but you're lying through your teeth. What this is it's a culture war. Because even with Christianity, I love the Filipinos and the Christian Filipinos that are in Canada. They're just incredible, wonderful people. Same with the Chinese. Same with the Africans. I don't mind. We're all going to the same church. We're all getting along because our values are the same. So you've got countries that are Pakistani, you've got countries that embrace Sikhism and Hinduism and Buddhism. This is not a good match. Multiculturalism was never meant to succeed. It was meant to divide us and collapse us as a democratic society. So on that, I will share these couple of updates. I think it's going to be very telling and very important. And I'm hoping that it will also shift the position of our viewers as well, who are diehard conservatives. At some point, we got to take this leap. I mean, everybody knows it. Everybody's saying it. This is just a new from February 7th. Immigration is out of control and Canadians know it. Okay. Yes. CSIS knows it. The government knows it. Mark Carney knows it, but he's with this global agenda to have 100 million people in Canada by the turn of the century. And, he's a globalist. He doesn't care. He thinks he can go live in his little castle, but the truth is going to catch up with him pretty soon. So this is what is going on within the Conservative Party. So many of you may have heard about the extortion going on in Surrey. Happens to be this extortion capital of Canada, apparently. I don't know how they're calling it extortion. Call it what it is. It's the Khalistani Sikh violence and Hindu violence going on in Surrey. And they don't want to name what the problem is. Like a lot of people want to say, even as far as the radical Islamists are. No, it's not radical Islamists. It's Islam is the problem. And thankfully, this is also changing, where more and more leaders and citizens are willing to call out what the actual problem. That's the only way we're going to solve it. So this is an MP within the Conservative Party addressing the so-called extortion.
That extortion has become a major crisis across this country. There's a shooting almost every day this year. Extortion's been up almost 500%. There are more and more small business owners are saying that they are ready to leave this country because they do not feel safe themselves and their families. And this is why in the last Parliament I brought forward a private member's bill that would have brought in mandatory minimum sentences for extortion, but unfortunately the Liberals voted against that bill. We also had a bill by my colleague Arpan Khanna, the jail not bail, to strengthen our bail laws. that bill also was stopped from being found.
So yada 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 yada. Okay, it's criminal. If again, they want to take away our guns while these terrorists are running around shooting everything up. And I've said many times living in Surrey here that now during Diwali in October, it sounds like you're in a war zone because they don't even slightly respect our bylaws that you can't have fireworks. And so I've appealed to the mayor and city council years ago. They called me a racist because I'm saying this is coming from the South Asian community. You want to build a bridge with them, then start fining them $5,000 and start arresting them. Make it something that penetrates in their head that there's consequences. I was talking to a police officer because they're driving around in these vehicles right now that they've modified, and their cars make these very loud. You can hear them. I'm not exaggerating. You can hear them from miles away coming. And it ends up that the officer in charge of this unit for the new Surrey Police Department was obviously South Asian. His accent was so strong, and he basically, blames it on testosterone. Oh yeah, these kids in testosterone. I'm like, are you kidding me? You need to be removed. And then I have another complaint that I've filed because in October of 2024, the new Surrey Police Department has all of these police officers in turbans, and there is a huge Sikh festival or something going on, and they do this mock sword fight, Khalistani sword fight. And so I've said these two police officers need to be removed. I'm still pursuing that, and they're not responding. I said, this is a matter of public interest. So this is what this guy wants to come up. Don't blame the community. He's advocating for his tribe. He's not advocating for Canadians, really, if we were to get to the bottom of it. Now, this is one that Maxime had posted the other day, and I was like 2 words, speak English, and say no to Poilievre's new Canada. So this is what's happening.
Yeah.
Here we go.
2-3 ਸਾਲ ਬਾਅਦ ਹੁਣ ਉਹੀ ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਵੀ ਇੱਥੇ ਡਿਪੋਰਟੇਸ਼ਨ ਹੋਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਆ ਇਹ ਗਲਤ ਗੱਲ ਆ 5 ਸਾਲ ਬਾਅਦ 5 ਸਾਲਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਰੂਟਸ ਪਾਉਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਤੇ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਤੇ ਟੈਕਸ ਪੇ ਕਰਨ ਲੱਗ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇੱਥੋਂ ਦੇ ਰੂਲਸ ਦੇ ਹਿਸਾਬ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਵਧੀਆ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਇਸ ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟ ਦੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਕੰਟਰੀ ਦੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਫਿਊਚਰ ਬਣ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹੋ
Just keep an eye on Pierre Poilievre.
ਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਜਸਟਿਨ ਟਰੂਡੋ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਡਿਪੋਰਟ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਆ ਇਹ ਗਲਤ ਗੱਲ ਆ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵਿਕਟਮਸ ਨੇ
I'm sorry, but this is Canada. There's 2 official languages, English or French. Speak one of them. We do not accommodate individuals. So he's speaking to a crowd there and in other situations appealing on behalf of all these poor Hindus and Sikhs or whatever community. Imagine he's only appealing on behalf of the Sikhs and wanting to keep these visa holders in the country to allow them to stay. It's no, you signed a contract. That contract is over. You need to get out. And this is illegal, and we need to deport them immediately and even to fine them. So this was another one. All of these videos are going up on social media victimizing these temporary citizens that should be deported like yesterday. And then this is Canada, Punjabi gangsters behind surge and extortion threats. Surrey declares emergency. This is what we're dealing with. Any of them, even if they're a Canadian citizen, I would say they're in violation of the oath that they took to be a Canadian citizen, and they should be deported. This is another look at what we're seeing across Canada. And this is the look of the new Surrey Police Department. This is the look of the 2 police officers in uniform that were doing this mock sword fight at a Khalistani or a Sikh event here in Surrey. Listen to this. This is his warning and addressing the extortion in Surrey.
ਇਹ ਸਰੀ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਸੇਵਾ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਲਈ ਇੱਕ ਸੁਨੇਹਾ ਹੈ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਪੈਸੇ ਵਸੂਲਣ ਵਿੱਚ ਮਦਦ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਹਿੰਸਾ ਦੀਆਂ ਕਾਰਵਾਈਆਂ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਕਿਹਾ
Okay, so we've had enough of that. And so this is definitely what's being supported. And now the police are going to launch a $250,000 reward as extortion cases climb. Who is going to be paying that $250,000? Are my tax dollars going to that? Round these people up, put them on a cargo plane, and send them back to where they came from. Enough of this. When you vote in, we just said Japan voted in a populist leader, then this is the kind of headlines you'll see. They fight back against the Muslim migration. And Greece announces that they're closing down 60 mosques. Here again, go to the immigration policy on the PPC's platform. And now I'll stop sharing. And Maxime, again, I just want to line this up for our viewers to see. You've got to see this with your own eyes of what Pierre Poilievre is supporting.
Yes, you're absolutely right, Tanya. You know, the press conference that the conservative did, the first one that you showed us in the beginning, you know, he said that this is the extortion in Surrey, in BC. This is a national challenge, a national crisis. This is not a national crisis. This is a crisis in Brampton, Ontario, in Surrey. This is a crisis with one community. That is happening when you have multiculturalism and you have people who don't share our values and are coming here. And you know, like you said, there's only 2 official languages, but now you have a policeman who's speaking not in French, not in English, because all these people are not integrated. They are coming here with an immigration system. You know, you can come and after that, it will be your brother, your sister, your uncle, your mom. And the Conservative Party is for that because they want to have their support. And all these communities that are, you know, ethnic communities, they want to have their brothers and sisters with them, but who's paying for that? It is us. So yes, it's important to stop that and to do the deportation, but also I must add, Tanya, that, you know, our refugees and people who are coming here saying that, you know, their life is in danger in another country, that's, you know, there's a lot of fake refugees and we are welcoming them and we are paying for them. They have more benefits, dental care, health care, than us Canadians. So all that must stop. The cost of that last year, the federal government was saying that it's more than $10 billion that we are paying for these fake refugees. So it's time to have a cleanup, and Canadians are fed up with that. And I hope that when the time will come, they will realize if you want to change, you need to vote for what you believe in, and the change will happen.
So Maxime, I'm understanding you right. You would put a full stop moratorium on immigration for what, a minimum of 10 years while we sort this out, however long it takes?
As long as it takes, you know, we have a crisis for a housing crisis, sorry. We have also a criminal crisis. There was all that. We have our healthcare that we cannot, you know, Canadians cannot have good services. So we need to fix all that. And the way to fix it is to have that moratorium, that pause. And if it's taking, you know, 5 years or 10 years, it will take 5 years or 10 years. So because our priority is Canadians first. And for me, that's not a slogan, that's the reality. And if you look at our platform, everything is in line to put our country first and Canadian first, and not these foreigners who are coming here only to have a better economic life and not integrate. They don't want to integrate in our society. And you know, Tanya, I'm very sometimes upset when I'm traveling across this country and I have, you know, a new Canadians, I'll be polite, who was, when I'm speaking about immigration, you know, with you or with anybody, it's always the same. I don't pander to any ethnic groups. But sometimes they are calling me, they said, oh, Maxime, everybody is an immigrant here. You are an immigrant. And I said, no, I'm not. I'm a settler. I came here, the Francophone coming from France, the Anglophone from London and from other countries. We came here 400 years ago. So I'm not an immigrant. But for them, they don't know our history. And that's why they don't integrate in our country.
No, and it's definitely something that needs to be addressed. I believe we need to bring back the Bible, that they need to swear their oath of Canadian citizenship on the Bible, not any book they choose. The Muslims are coming in and swearing on the Quran. So they have no desire and no motivation to integrate or assimilate or to embrace our Christian values, which we know that they wouldn't and couldn't do. I was at the airport, as I said the other day, at the Abbotsford airport, and I felt like I was sitting in Sri Lanka or Pakistan. I couldn't understand virtually what anybody was saying. Every single person that worked for Flair Airline was Hindu. And the announcements over the PA system, that's discrimination to me. Flair Airlines should be boycotted. They should be held to account. That is discrimination. And I look at all of the countries that these people came from. This is not happening in this country. The UN, the WEF is not mandating the 56 Islamic majority countries become multicultural or Pakistan, India, and all the rest of it. So quit being a nice Canadian. They're not afraid of offending us. They're offending us on a daily basis. There is a polite way to turn to somebody and say, speak English. If you value being in Canada, speak English. And when you do it kindly, they'll say, thank you. Because I said they're dividing us. Richmond is all Chinese. It's all Chinese signs. Everybody's speaking Chinese. Surrey, Brampton, they've raised up their false gods. I want to see those dismantled. Those don't belong. It's offensive to me to see these 60-foot monkey gods in a Christian nation where our Bible says, you shall have no other idols before us. Those need to be torn down. And so that's what I mean. There are ways that we would say, you want to ride a motorbike and you have a turban? Sorry, you can't ride a motorbike. Canadians aren't going to be on the hook for your medical bills. That's the law here. And quit accommodating these people. Simple.
You're right about that, Tanya, the accommodation. And I want people to remember that all that started for the police because we saw, a policeman from Surrey with a turban. And, I want people to understand that started in 1986 when Brian Mulroney was Prime Minister of Canada, a conservative Prime Minister. And I remember because my dad at that time was a conservative MP from Quebec. And they had that discussion in the conservative caucus at that time, because Brian Mulroney wanted to accommodate the Sikh community and allowed the RCMP to wear a turban. People, and the RCMP, it's our heritage, it's our history, and didn't have any turban at that time. But Brian Mulroney said yes to that. And I remember my dad was an MP and he was so mad because, that was the beginning. And now little accommodation by little accommodation, you have what you have right now. They don't integrate and they don't care about us. They're, laughing at us. And we need to stop that. Yes, we need to tell them this is our Canada. You like it? Perfect. You don't like it? If you want to have all your family with you in Canada, just go back to your country of origin. Your family is there.
It's Maxime is, we're very much in agreement with that. And I want to encourage our viewers, if you are hearing what Maxime is saying and you say, Maxime, I 100% agree with you that you are very concerned about the mass immigration, the political entryism. These people, as you could see with Mr. Uppel, he isn't here serving Canadian interests. He is serving his tribe. We have an attorney general by the name of Mickey Amory in Alberta, whose real name is Kasim Mohammed Maki Amory. And if you look up on his Facebook, he is serving his community, the Lebanese, the Muslims. He says we can't let our culture and our history go. Well, why are you in Canada? Why are you running for office? How did you get in there if you are advancing the interests of Islam rather than Canadian values? No, we don't want a dual Sharia court system. No, we don't want the fake halal banking. Yes, you pay interest, people. They're not off the hook for paying interest. Don't buy into that. But this is accommodations. This is the poison and the noose of accommodations that's slowly tightening around our neck. And we're going to have to be brutal and we have to go in and overturn these things. But it is not going to happen unless you seriously start thinking about who is the official, the candidate that's running in your area. Would you be willing to help Maxime find PPC candidates in your riding across this nation? If you want that candidate, help the PPC party. Reach out to these candidates. Encourage them to run for the PPC. get in touch with them. Maxime and I have had a discussion about this already, and they're willing and open to start recruiting as many candidates as possible. If an election is called right now, we want this Christian populist movement ready to rip. We want them ready to go. If we could get 5 PPC candidates in, then that opens the door for the next one. It's going to shift the conservative conversation within the CPC. But we can't continue. Even if before an election they start taking on our talking points, don't be deceived and fooled, because I've been at this 10 and a half years and I've watched the CPC do it over and over and over again. And so you got to be wise, and you got to be ready. You got to grow a spine, and you got to be invested in the movement so that we can have major wins like they've had in other countries. We are at a critical crossroads right now, and the time is now. So Maxime, what can you add about the PPC candidates for us?
But I want to say that, judge politicians not by their words, but by their actions. Just do that. Look what they're doing. And if you have your MP and you have something very important that you care about, go and see your MP and act and promote your ideas. And I just want to let you know, if your MP is saying, and you're asking him or her to be public about that, and if he or she doesn't want to go public, that is telling you everything. That is telling you that this member of parliament is not on your side. So what we want to do, we just want to promote Canadian values, but we need people, we need candidates. What did hurt us at the last election is, we didn't have a full slate of candidates. So in about, 75 ridings, Canadians were not able to vote for a People's Party for what they believe in because we didn't have a candidate. Now, like Tanya said, we are starting right now because we may be in an election, this spring, this fall, or maybe in a year or 2 years, we don't know. And so if you're interested, write to us at peoplespartyofcanada.ca or info@peoplespartyofcanada. Just write to us, and we have a team across the country. We will help you. And what we are doing, Tanya, right now is we are building the organization across the country. So it will be done in about a month. And after that, we will ask our organization on the ground to find candidates. But if you're interested right now, give your name and we'll be in touch with you, and we'll put you in touch with the right people in your province.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Maxime, for that. And I love what you said about don't listen to what they say. Know that you will know them by their actions. And that's actually biblical as well. And this is, we don't want to be at the 11th hour trying to find candidates to run, because the last time around, also what we've got to be very wary of is there are conservatives that are also infiltrating, and then they backed out at the last minute. So Maxime didn't qualify again for the debates. Every single year, they are sabotaging the PPC party. If the CPC and the Liberals have nothing to worry about, if they're so confident, why don't they want Maxime at the debates? Why don't they want to hear his ideas? Is it because it actually represents the majority of Canadians?
Yeah, you're right about that. At every election, we started the People's Party in 2018, our first election 2019, second one 2021, the third one in 2025. And at every time, they put criteria for us to participate in the debate. When we are able to participate a couple of months before the election, they will change their criteria, come back with a new criteria. And so that's very difficult for us because, the debate commission, the people at the head of that debate commission is politicians from the Conservative and from the Liberals. So they don't want us, they don't want the People's Party there to ask the real question and, do the real reform. But that being said, that's why I'm very pleased, Tanya, that you have me tonight. I'm able to have a discussion with you about our ideas. And that's what I'm doing. The mainstream media is, ignoring us. They don't want to give us more visibility, because I believe that they know if we have more visibility in the mainstream media, we will grow faster, and they don't want that. So that's why I'm traveling across the country, doing podcasts here in Canada, in the US, and try to rebuild the organization and find candidates. And if they want to help, everybody is welcome.
Well, yeah, thank you, Maxime. I know personally that you are exhausting yourself. I know what it's like to fly from place to place and speak and talk to people. It's exhausting. And you are investing, you are sacrificing, you're missing time with your family, and all for this nonsense about you living in Florida and living it up and all the rest of it. It's like there are snowbirds in Canada. There's always been, on the rare occasion, you probably get an opportunity to go down there. You probably need a break as well to rest and get restored and ready to get back and into the fight. So, I know you well, and I know that you're fighting really hard.
Yeah, my political opponents and some people on social medias, conservative influencers, they're saying that I'm living in Florida all the time and I'm back in Canada only for the election. No, I'm there like a couple of Quebecers. We like to go there during winter. I was there for 3 weeks in November, and I'm here, and I will stay in Canada, fight for what I believe. And yes, when I'll be tired, maybe I'll go in Florida during winter time, a week or two, like every Canadians that can afford that. So, but my soul is in Canada, and that's why I'm fighting for this country. But when they're saying that, it is showing you that they're afraid. They don't want to have a real discussion. They're lying and lying and lying. But the truth will always prevail, and our time will come.
And I want to give people, something to think about as well. If there's independent news medias, I won't name these platforms, that are also pretty much refuse to promote or talk about Maxime's ideas. And there are some new influencers on X that came up like 6 months or a year ago. And I'm like, where did you come from? I'm literally fighting. I got 7,200 followers on X. I'll post something, our moratorium on immigration. I had launched it in the fall of 2023. It has like 5,200 signatures. It's been buried and we keep bringing it back up. It should have 1 million votes based on how Canadians feel about this issue. And so all of a sudden this guy comes up and I'm like, he has I know the research that goes in hours and hours and hours, but every day he's coming up with multiple posts. And I'm like, is he a conservative paid person? And that he probably has a team of people possibly helping him. So if it seems to be good to be true that these people are doing this, because I saw you got hit last week by this individual for simply showing who the independent media individuals were who were behind supporting the Conservative Party and their convention, hoorahing their convention where they supported Bill C-4. And I think it's important for people to understand they're physically mutilating our children. And the risk of suicide has gone up, not down, because of this. They are destroying our kids' minds with this Marxist communist agenda. And so, they're threatening legal action because you're like, these are the people that are supporting this harm to our children. And well, if you don't like it, then stop doing it. Yeah. And you know what? Don't talk nonsense about suing people for their ideas and calling you out for what it is that you're supporting. We need a huge shift in this country if we're going to have a future for our children. Our European Western values is what we want moving forward. And one more reminder before we close this up here is that the preamble to the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and I keep saying, I'm going to repeat the truth often enough so it's the truth again, is that it says Canada is founded on the supremacy of God and the rule of law, colon. That colon means that every single section that follows must support the supremacy of God of the Bible and the rule of law, which was based on biblical principles. So multiculturalism is something that Pierre Elliott Trudeau wanted to drive in there to divide Canada, but honestly, he didn't succeed in that, because multiculturalism has to comply with our Christian values. That means that the accommodation of these idols, they need to be torn down. And I believe that the mosques the Islamic centers and the temples need to be shut down as well. And I know that will be a really crazy idea, but our Bible says, top 2 commandments, you shall have no other gods before me. And that God honors a country that follows that, because our children in school are being led down a lane to Multiculturalism Day. Through Multiculturalism Day seems all soft and polite, but actually then they're having these celebrations in the gymnasiums and having these false gods and these demons invited in their celebrations. That's not how we fly in Canada. And if they're offended by that, that's not on me, that's on you. You're insulting Canadians. And it's time that they're called out on that. And it's time Canadians stand up. And if you really, really want to fight for your country, then you're going to need to support a leader who is giving it all. Go read Maxime's policy page. He's on the front lines as well. The CPC voted down abortion again. They want nothing to do with the legislation. Even back in Andrew Scheer's day, he was saying we will never revisit this in the CPC. Michelle Rempel is completely pro-choice, and she's even against sex-selective abortion, which is these foreigners that are coming in here and aborting baby girls because they're not as valued. And as a feminist, I'm so confused by what it is that she's doing. So anyways, Maxime, is there anything else? This has been such a good conversation. I know there's so many more issues that we could cover, but is there anything else that you would like to mention?
First, I want to thank you, Tanya, because as you said earlier, these conservative influencers on social media, I call them like that because yes, some of them are paid by the Conservative Party of Canada to promote the Conservative Party. So, and like the Liberals, own, if I can express myself like that, the mainstream media. So the Conservatives try to do the same with the alternative media. And it's very difficult for me to be, with other media like Rebel News or like Juno or these other alternative media, because they want to promote the Conservative Party. So just the fact that you gave me that time and have a discussion with you, that's great, because that's helping us to promote our ideas. And I must add, if you want to know more, go on our website, peoplespartyofcanada.ca, read our platform, and we are doing politics by conviction. That platform won't change. We are not like the Liberals or like the Conservatives or the NDP. We don't do polling and after that, before an election, having a new electoral platform. What I'm saying today, I said the same thing 7 years ago when we created the party, 8 years ago when we created the party. And our candidates, they share our platform, and that's why we are doing politics differently, because we are fighting for the right ideas for this country.
Well, I love that. And I love how you had said that if they're not willing to say what they believe in public, then they're not going to make the list. And I have been really reaching out to the churches, to the congregations, and to the pastors, and appealing to them to raise up good, godly leaders from within the church. And after you leave, I'm going to spend a few minutes with the viewers just going over the false claim of a separation between church and state. And that's absolutely false. The Muslims have the get out to vote. And when an election comes, they're putting millions of dollars into elections across Canada, and their plan is to enter our miserable house from within. That's the Muslim Brotherhood's plan, and to enter our miserable house from within and by our own hands to destroy us. And so they're doing that through political entryism. And the Muslim population is still a minority. So that means that we get enough Canadians, as well as the Sikhs and the Hindus. You're still a majority. Start lobbying, start getting Canadians fired up within your communities and get them actively involved in the election process, door knocking, funding our candidates. We got money too. Come on, people, you have to be sacrificial. And one of the things that Action for Canada, of course, and I'm going to promote it again, is become a chapter leader. And then we are also, when we get a chapter leader, we're trying to knock on the door of a church. Hey, can we have our meetings within your church? The church, once we line one up, we then put an email out and a message to our members within that postal code region saying, hey, we're having our first event. Come out here, meet our chapter leader. And generally, by building that community, the members end up loving that community and start coming to church on Sunday morning as well. So it ends up becoming a win-win. But then also we are talking to every single one of our pastoral leads in those churches and saying, please help us to raise up good, incredible, moral, godly leaders from within the church. Let's get activated within the church and do that, Maxime. So I just, from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you for joining me tonight and thank you for all the work that you are doing.
Thank you, Tanya, and thank you to Actions Canada teams all across the country who are promoting, the real values, Christian values, try to be sure that we will keep that country safe and prosperous. And, we'll try to change the history right now because we are not going in the right direction. We need to go back to our roots, and you're doing that. So thank you very much. And let's be together another time also.
Yeah, thank you so much, Maxime. Absolutely. Actually, maybe within a few weeks or a month, we'll have you on because I know some other stuff is stirring up in the background. Anyways, just God bless you and all the work that you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, fantastic. So as I said, I'm going to spend just a few minutes sharing my screen. Again, I'm going to cover just a few matters. Again, I was talking about the Stop Mass Immigration. This petition has been up for a year and a half. I'm also, as I remember, on our Rumble or our YouTube. We're on YouTube again. We don't have a lot of followers. We should have 1 million for the years that I'm at this, but we've just been so censored, as I've mentioned before. So give us a thumbs up, sign up with Rumble, sign up with YouTube, and make sure that you can make comments, positive comments, and then share our information. I've mentioned in the past that on Rumble, we've gone from tens of thousands of views down to maybe 1,000. Something nefarious is going on. We need to be actively involved with as an independent, I guess, news source as well in doing this. Okay, so we've talked a lot about mass immigration and different issues. At the top here is current issues. If you come down, you'll see political, radical, Islam. It's goes by so many different names. Islam is really the central focus. We've got a lot of information. We're doing a lot of work in the background to address this threat. But I would just encourage you to get on the page, get educated, and start sharing this information with your elected officials. It is shocking how many elected officials are being lobbied by the Sikhs, are being lobbied by the Muslims, but they're not being lobbied by Canadians to warn them about what's going on with those in those other tribes and communities. So the other issue under current issues is we call it political LGBTQ. Amazing progress that we are making with using our resources and our strategies. I encourage you to come to this page, especially to watch this presentation where I show you how they are indoctrinating our children from kindergarten to grade 6. They are planting these demonic seeds in these kids' head about things that they would never think about. The reason I want to bring this up again, you need to share this information with elected officials, share this video, share the resource where I've highlighted the teacher's toolkit and how they are incrementally introducing pronouns, LGBTQ relationships, transgenderism, bestiality, and other things. It's all on there. And because of what's happened and the horrific mass shooting, we really need to understand as a society in order to address it, how they're indoctrinating our children. And this video is key to that presentation. The notices of liability, as I mentioned, I should have it completed tomorrow if it's not already done. And when you go into the notice of liability, I'll pick SOGI 123 as an example. We've done a little update at the beginning. We know there's really good teachers in the school system. Thank God for you and bless you. Hang in there. Help is coming. We're going to get all of this garbage overturned. And so serve the good teachers a notice of liability. So if activist principals or school boards come after them and saying, you're not complying. We want you to have that LGBTQ flag up. We're saying, no, this gives you the power to say no, because it's saying there are measurable harms and you can say, I don't want to be liable for this. I'm not supporting this. Go away. And then right here, it isn't quite done yet. Oh, yes, it is. So you are on notice in the United States. A court awarded $2 million to a young woman who detransitioned after being socially indoctrinated and psychologically pressured into irreversible medical decisions as a minor, harm the court recognized as mutilation. This case is not isolated, with 28 similar lawsuits now underway and thousands more expected. What was once denied is now being named for what it is, a crime against humanity, and legal accountability for those responsible for facilitating this harm is rapidly increasing. As a Canadian citizen, I, as the person serving the notice, have a duty to report the following concerns that are resulting in measurable harms. And so we're asking, if you want, print it again, serve your local school boards. There is the printout of the news report in here as well. That would be in this section here, possibly on the second page. Okay, just look for it, print it off. Oh, there it is. Number 2 here, wins $2 million malpractice suit. And because you have to put these facts in front of these activists, trustees who have thought they were above the law, to think that this isn't going to catch up to them. We want to have it on record. Always keep the notice of liability and signed. And if there's going to be a lawsuit in your area, then at least you can submit that information to us. Here is the report. It's going to be one of thousands, I believe. They are on notice. We're coming for them. And just to remind you of the amazing progress that we've had, is that in Saskatchewan, sorry, this one is the Alberta first, that the win that we had last year, getting the books removed, is, just the beginning as well. And we're going to continue to move forward because we were requesting that SOGI 123 be also removed from Alberta. As I said at the beginning of the show, we need to lobby every single premier and education minister demanding that they remove this from their resources and from their curriculum, and serve them the notice of liability. We're coming for them. And the other win was in 2023 when we got SOGI 123 stopped from being implemented in Saskatchewan and Planned Parenthood banned. It shows you what we can do, even with a minority of people at the helm. So please help us out. Okay, next week's guest is going to be, I'll stop sharing screen. I love it. Dallas and I had an incredible conversation. Was that last week or week before? And she's coming on again. We talked about what's going on in our universities and, again, the indoctrination of our children into this Marxist communist agenda. We have got to rescue and save our kids. We've got to protect them, even though they've been so affected by this, and they are so dysfunctional. They're coming out yelling and screaming. No civil conversation is able to be had, and we've got to break through this. And Dallas is on the front line of that. But this is going to be part 2, and Dallas is going to come on, and we're going to talk about the land resources and the amount of money that is, I say that we're exposing theft in plain sight, because there are these water deals going on and other land deals that we didn't have time to think about. And regarding our resources, Action for Canada has reported on this in the past, but Dallas is privy to information that she is going to share with us next week on the show. And don't forget that on the 20th, if you're in BC, we're going to have a wonderful event at Calvary Chapel in Riverside Calvary Chapel in Langley at 7 p.m. on Friday the 20th. So do prepare, plan on being with us to attend that. So the next image is, I talked about there is no such thing as a separation of church and state. It is definitely a lie from the pit of hell. There is no such thing in Islam of separating the Quran, from the mosques, and everything is interconnected. And I kind of make this little note that God did not say appoint 12 tribes of atheists. He said appoint the 12 tribes of Israel. Find 12 godly, strong men who can oversee the 12 tribes and appoint them. And that's why I'm emphasizing that we have a duty and a responsibility to be very involved within elections. The church must wake up and get involved as well. Our very existence relies on this. So don't listen and don't quote the separation of church and state. Tell your pastor to get over himself. That's a lie from the pit of hell. And tell him to get out here on the front line with us respectfully and help us out by sharing the news and shepherding his flock accordingly and appropriately. So the two Bible verses, well, the first one, it's multiple Bible verses from Proverbs, but I thought it was appropriate. When the righteous increase, the people rejoice, but when the wicked rule, the people groan. Isn't that what we're going through? The next one was, by justice a king builds up the land, but he who exacts gifts tears it down. If a ruler listens to falsehood, all his officials will be wicked. I was thinking about the Liberal Party. I was thinking about all the falsehoods, the lies, what the Conservatives are embracing, the NDP and the Green Party, and now the Bloc Québécois. I mean, just rotten to the core, the wickedness, and the lies and the evil that they have been selling their souls to the devil in order to advance wickedness. And then finally, if a king faithfully judges the poor, his throne will be established forever. The wicked rule for themselves, the righteous rule for the good of others and God's glory. And that's why we need to focus on raising up an incredible godly leader. And so then my final verse in closing is from Exodus 18:21. Moreover, look for able men from all the people, men who fear God, who are trustworthy and hate a bribe, and place such men over the people as chiefs of thousands, of hundreds, of fifties, and of tens. And that's just to drive it home and emphasize how important it is. You can't just vote the party line anymore, my friends. We're so far past that. All right. And I need you to step up. Join Action for Canada, join the PPC. There is also the Christian Heritage Party, who has amazing godly candidates that are running, and that may be where you go, but you have to pick a candidate, and then you have to get a team of people behind that person so the community becomes familiar with them. It has to be done way before an election. These candidates should be known. Their character should be known. People should love and adore them and say, I am behind you. I'm financially behind you. I am morally behind you. I got your back. So, all right, that was a great show tonight. Please remember to share it. God bless you, and God bless Canada.
In times of financial uncertainty, safeguarding your assets is increasingly important. In response to ongoing inflation, economic challenges, and market instability, many Canadians are adopting the timeless strategy of investing in precious metals. Historically, gold and silver have held their value, safeguarding your assets against economic turmoil. Action for Canada is pleased to announce our partnership with Steve of Sun City Silver, providing valued members of A4C with expanded investment opportunities designed to help you achieve your financial goals. Steve is an ally of the Freedom Movement, and he's offering members of Action for Canada exclusive access to some of Canada's premier prices. By leveraging his connections with Silver Gold Bull, you can access competitive rates for securing your precious metals. Silver Gold Bull is a trusted Canadian leader, offering live pricing 24/7 and boasting nearly 400,000 five-star reviews on Trustpilot. For an order of $5,000, be sure to indicate you're an Action for Canada member and receive a complimentary 1967 silver dollar, courtesy of Sun City Silver. Expand your collection further by referring a new customer who places a similar order, and Steve will reward you with a special bonus thank you gift. Your purchase with Steve is a dual investment. You invest in your future while simultaneously supporting the Freedom Movement with a percentage of each sale benefiting Action for Canada. For more information, be sure to visit actionforcanada.com/purchasing-precious-metals/. Secure your assets. Protect your future. Support Action for Canada and the Freedom Movement. The information presented is for educational and informational purposes only and is not intended to provide financial, legal, or tax advice, as we are not licensed financial advisors, accountants, or attorneys and cannot provide professional counsel. Be advised that the content and information provided does not create a client relationship. We recommend you consult with a qualified professional advisor before making any financial, legal, or tax decisions. Please note that Action for Canada is not responsible for an individual's financial outcome. Remember, your decisions are your own, and we recommend doing your own research before making any investment.
Chapters across